Okay, I'm going to try this again. My board quit on me a while ago. I was halfway through this video, so if I go too fast, that's why, because it's the second time. Okay, we want in general form. That's the one where you multiply everything out. You got to start with standard form first. So that would be x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So remember, this is hk, and there's r. So you've got x minus 4 quantity squared plus y minus 3 quantity squared equals 7 squared. Square everything out. So square the first, twice product, square the last. Square the first, twice product, square the last. Go ahead and square that that radius. Put everything in order. You want your quadratic terms, you want your linear terms. These two go together. That's going to make a 25. You're going to bring the 49 over. So when you bring it over, it'll be a negative 24. You always want it equal to 0. But again, it's going to be multiple choice, so you'll see that. This is asking you to go backwards. So they're giving you close to general, close, but they're wanting standard. So this is where you have to complete the square. So there's really no way around it. So you want to sort things out. You want to get your x's together, make a spot. Get your y's together, negative 8y, make a spot. Leave your 5 there. So there's 2 spots. To fill in the first one, half and square is plus 4. So go ahead and put plus 4 over here. And half and square, that'd be 16. So go ahead and put your 16 over here. So remember, you've got to write that as a binomial squared. It's the square root of the first, square root of the last, sign at the beginning. Square root of the front sign, and square root of the back. That's the best way to do it. I know some of you like to factor, but whenever you start dealing with weird fractions and harder problems, that becomes a mess. So it's easier to know that way. That's supposed to be a 4, so that's 25. So it asks for center, which would be negative 2 and 4, and then radius, which is the square root of 25, which is 5. Okay? Then it asks you what is the domain of this function. I think I actually have a second picture of this. Write your answer in interval notation. Well, the one thing you can't have in a rational function is you can't have a 0 in the denominator. So your denominator is not allowed to be 0. Remember, that's vertical asymptotes. So x can't be 50. So use your intervals to say that we're excluding 50. So we're going to go up to 50 on both sides, but we're not going to include 50. And that's your domain. Okay, for a radical function, if it's an even index, so the little number here is even, you don't want to do an even root of a negative number because that's not real. So take your radicand and make it greater than or equal to 0. Then solve that little inequality. Divide 3 by 2. X has got to be greater than or equal to 11, so that means you're starting at 11 and you're going forever positive. Okay, then we want to graph this function, so these are using translations. So finding your h and k, remember we changed the front sign, we keep the second. Your a value is 1. So it's the basic graph. All you did was go over 4 and then up 1. He's opening up because remember we're going to, the shape of this is just a parabola that opens up 1 over 1, just to get the basic shape. Don't repeat the a value. It just gives you the shape of the parabola. That's it. Okay, this one, it's a cube. Hopefully you remember that cubes are squiggles. Technically, it's not a vertex, but that's kind of what we called it. If you take your hk, you got 1, negative 2. So if you plot that point, 1, negative 2, that's where the flat spot of your squiggle is. So from there, since your a value is still 1 on this problem, you're going to go up 1 and to the right, and then you're going to go down 1 and to the left to maintain that same shape. And it's easier for me to just draw it from the middle every time. And that's your function. So then we have to graph this one, and they were weird. We really didn't do many of these earlier because this has got the 2 in front. We didn't do that. So what would make it easier is if you would take that function and kind of rewrite it, divide both of those by 2. So that's 1/2. Now, you don't have a number out here. So your vertex is a positive 1/2 and 0. So that's what you're doing. You're going to say if, okay, this is 1 and that's 1. what we're doing is we're going over a half, and we're starting here. And you remember square root is the swish. So we're doing that because remember the number out front is it's just 1. So you just need your little swishy starting right there. Not a big deal. Use a translation to graph it. Remember, absolute value is a V. Well, your vertex is at 5, 2. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 2, 1, 2. And you're going to, your A value, you know, the number in front, it's still 1. So they're keeping it pretty basic for you. So up 1 over 1. And this, since it is lines on either side, you could repeat the A value. Okay, so use translations to graph this one. Well, your little vertex would be, and I know it's not a vertex, but you know, our little starting spot is 1, 4. Now we're only doing it for greater than or equal to 1, but that's because it's swishing to the right, correct? So we go to 1 and we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to do our little swishy. Look at your little A, it's a 1, so up 1 over 1, so we start here and we swish. That's pretty much it. Hopefully y'all remember your parent graphs. I tried to beat them in y'all's head. Okay, let's see here. Let these two functions, f of x is 2x plus 1, g of x is 3x minus 2. Find the function f minus g. So, you know, basically you're just doing what it says. Take the f function, wrap that up, minus the g function. And they're purposely asking you the subtraction one because most people are going to lose their sign because they're not going to remember to wrap them up in parentheses. Because this right here will change the sign of both of them, but most people will miss this one if they don't use parentheses. So please distribute your negative. That turns into a plus 2. Then collect like terms. So that's a negative x, and then your numbers come together, your constants give you a 3. So that right there is the difference. Notice it says not an equation. So don't try to balance it like it is one. So they're giving us the two functions, f of x and g of x. They're different from what it was before. Doesn't matter. But remember what that little symbol means? That's a composite function. This is where somebody ate somebody else. Okay, so the optional way of writing that is g of f of negative 5. Now, you don't actually have to do the composite function here because it actually puts the negative 5 inside. You could work your way out. So your options are just work your way out and find the values, or do the composite function and then evaluate it at negative 5. Quite honestly, the first one has potential for less boo-boos. So if I were you, I would find what in the world is f of negative 5. So just come over here and do it. Put negative 5 in here. So 2 times negative 5 minus 5. Well, that's going to be a negative, what, 10 minus 5 is negative 15. Okay, so I'm going to replace this thing right here with negative 15. So I've got g, and that's going to be negative 15 goes right in there. So switchy swappy right there. Now, take your g function and put negative 15 in it. Okay, so that'd be 5 times negative 15 minus 2. Well, if I'm remembering right, that's 75. But I'll double check just to make sure I don't do something stupid. So 5 times, what, 15? Yep, that's right. So negative 75 minus 2 is negative 77. So that should be my answer right there. Let's verify. What number was that? That was number 46, 46, 46, 46. Yeah, negative 77. We're good. Okay, so this one, it gives us two functions, and it says find the value of this function. So it says f of 3. So basically, I'm going to do it the same way I did before. G's not even involved. You don't even need it. It's garbage. This thing's only talking about f. Take 3, put it in f. Okay, so scoot over here and just do it. Just doodle over to the side. Put 3 in there. Now remember, order of operation rules, always and forever. So this first 3 drops, then you square that thing. Do not multiply first. Okay. Multiplication comes second in order of operations. So that's 25. So now I'm taking the 25 and I'm dropping it in there. So that's f of 25. So take your f function, excuse me, put 25 in the place of x and work it out. And yes, you got to do that power first, and sure enough, it's fixing to blow up. So 25 squared, I do believe, is 625, but I'll type it in just to be sure. Yep, 625 minus 2. Well, now I got to multiply that thing by 3, so I'm glad it's in the calculator. 1875 minus 2, that part I think I can handle. So 1873. And yep, that's right. So just a little weird, but you know, You just got to follow what you know is right. So find the inverse of this one-to-one function. Okay, now keep in mind, inverse, there was 4 steps. Put the y in the problem. Swap your x and y. So that gives me an x, and that gives me 9y plus 7. So solve for my new y. So that means 7 goes over. That'd be x minus 7 equals 9y. Divide through by 9. So I got x minus 7 over 9 equals, and remember, we're not going to call him y anymore. We're going to call him the inverse of f of x. So there we go. Let's see here. Find the vertex of the parabolic graph of this equation. Boy, they made that sound funky. Y'all, we did vertex a while ago. That's in standard form. They just made it sound all goofy. This is a quadratic. So it's just a quadratic function. What's the vertex? That would be change the sign on the front one, keep the sign on the last. You're done. Because it's in vertex form. Now this one, not so nice. Find the vertex. So we need to complete the square. That, or you can do your, some of y'all really liked this. It'll work. But I'm going to complete the square because that's what you're really supposed to do. So take the negative out of the first 2 terms. That's x squared minus 8x. Make a space. The negative 7 doesn't play. So then you come in here, half and square that thing. If I half it, I get 4. Square it, 16. But what did I really do? I really did a negative 16. So counteract it with a positive 16. So I bring down the negative from the front. Square root of the front. Same front sign. Square root of the back. Square. Put those like terms together. That's what? I think that's a 9. Yeah. So my vertex is going to be 4, 9. Okay. If you did it the other way, which I guess I'll do it. Remember, this is A, B, C. So that means negative B is going to be negative A, negative 8, excuse me, 2 times negative 1. So don't blow off that negative in the front. So that's 8 over negative 2 is negative 4. So did I miss something? What did I do? Oh, yeah, crazy me. 2 signs cancel. Yeah, they're supposed to be the same. That's the reason I stopped. Yeah, my negative should have canceled over here. I'm supposed to get positive 4. So my bad. But now that I got positive 4, I could go back and figure out what the other one is by putting a positive 4 in there. You could find out what y is. And that's what a lot of you did. So that would be negative 16 because the negative doesn't cancel out when you square. You're only squaring 4. So that's going to be 32. So put these 2 together. That's just a regular old 16 minus 7 is 9. So it's same answer. So we got this. We got that. Just make sure you know how to get there, one way or the other. Okay, at a time t seconds after an object is tossed vertically upward, it reaches a height of s in feet given by the equation right there. What's the max height? Y'all, let's want the y value. Okay, so that means that is, turn it around, s equals negative 16t squared plus 224t. This is A, this is B, C, you don't have one. So x equals negative b over 2a. That means I've got negative 224 over 2 times negative 16. So negative 224 over negative 32. Well, I know those cancel. 224 divided by, 224 divided by 32 is 7. Well, that's the x value. That's not what I want. So go back and do 224 times 7 minus 16 times 7 squared. So just type it in. I need to wind this up. So 224 times 7 is, oh Lord, that's a big number. So I'm just going to keep typing. Minus 16 times 7 squared. I got 784. That's my max height because that's the y value. Okay, y value is height. Remember, your x value is time. So we'll pick it up from there in the next video.